Thousands of teachers keep failing a controversial licensing exam. I-Team reporter Katie LeGrone's 2-year investigation now revealing minority teachers are flunking that test at significantly higher rates than white test takers, raising even more questions tonight.
New data is shedding light on who's failing Florida's controversial teacher certification exam. According to state data we obtained through a public records request, minorities vying to teach in a Florida classroom are disproportionately failing the test. This former kindergarten teacher lost her job after failing the general knowledge math section 5 times.
You have no idea how much I have cried. A lot.
State data shows she's one of more than half of Hispanic examinees who failed the test last year, while nearly 3/4 of Black examinees also flunked. But Caucasian test takers, state data shows less than half failed the same test.
It's unclear how these numbers compare to previous years. The state started monitoring the race of examinees in 2015. We've asked for that data, but have yet to receive it.
It's pretty drastic.
Lee County's school hiring boss started studying the racial and gender breakdown of its own teachers taking the exam, since so many kept failing.
But if we are struggling to get the folks in those minority categories to pass those tests, then that makes that recruitment of minority candidates even that much harder.
For the past 2 years, we've exposed how 2015 revisions to make the test more rigorous
I just want to be a teacher.
caused increased failure rates and dramatic fallout.
It's like a slap in the face.
Teachers across the state lost their jobs.
It's just daunting.
Districts scrambled to fill their slots.
It's a crisis for us.
It's become a statewide crisis.
It ends up whitewashing the teaching population.
Testing critic Bob Schaefer of fairtest.org says raises more questions with this latest data, which shows white examinees overall last year passed the state's test at double the rate of certain minority groups.
Very disappointing that Florida, which is increasingly diversifying, is excluding talented people of color, African American, Hispanic, from the classrooms based solely on scores.
So these are not flawed tests?
No, the tests are not flawed.
Dr. Mercedes Pichard is a high school English teacher in Florida who has served on about a half-dozen state committees tasked with reviewing test questions for fairness and cultural bias.
The tests are valid. They're evaluated and looked at so many times.
But she admits examinees whose first language is not English are at a disadvantage on the timed test.
You're always going to process things a little bit slower if it's not your first language. And it's not fair to penalize you just for slower processing rate.
She'd like to see the state better accommodate those examinees.
These kids need you.
While many Florida teachers who have shared their stories of failure and frustration have been forced to move on the only way they can.
God has something in store for me better. I don't know what it is, but I'm just waiting on it.
The state tells us passing scores are determined by standards examinees have proven to meet and by the recommendation of state educators. See the racial and gender breakdown of examinees on our website. I'm I-Team investigator Katie LeGrone taking action for you.